Ever get sucked into one of those K-dramas, and think, wow, that's intense, even for a K-drama. You guys asked for a deep dive on the story of Julius Manalo, and let me tell you, it's a wild ride. We're talking about a separation from his mother when he was just 6 years old. 31 years he searched for her. And the interview he did on Tony Talks is going to be our guide. And it is, well, it's a roller coaster, raw, emotional, but it's got that happy ending that'll warm even the coolest cynic, I'm telling you. So picture this, okay? 1980s Korea. Young Julius, he's living there with his mom and his grandmother. He's got these vivid memories of his dad, like the kind of dad who encourages you to master a bike without those training wheels, even if it means a few scrapes and bruises along the way,
It's those early experiences, those little moments of connection that really form the bedrock of our understanding of love and security, don't they? And when those bonds are disrupted, especially at such a young age, it can really have a profound impact on a child's developing sense of self, their ability to form trusting relationships later in life.
And disrupted it was. At 6, Julius is told he's going on a trip to America, which, come on, it's exciting enough for a kid, right? But instead of the U.S., he ends up in the Philippines. That's where he learns he'll be living with his half-brother, the actor Manalo. Talk about a plot twist, right?
Oh.
But for Julius, this wasn't some fun adventure. He actually shared later that he refused to use the O initial from his Korean middle name. It was like this tangible link to his mother, and the heritage he felt was like ripped away.
Yep.
That's heartbreaking. And, it speaks to a much larger experience for many immigrants. Imagine trying to adapt to a whole new culture, a new language, and all while grappling with this feeling of leaving a part of yourself behind. It's a constant push and pull, honoring your roots while embracing this new identity.
It makes you think about how resilient kids can be, but also the hidden costs of these kinds of separations. You know what I mean? And Julius, he definitely showed resilience. As a teenager, when most of us were trying to figure out dial-up internet for the first time, he was using it to search for his mother. Can you imagine? His very first online searches were for her name.
It's a testament to the enduring power of family ties, wouldn't you say? That deep-seated human need to connect, to belong, especially within families. It's like a universal language.
Absolutely, and it drives people to extraordinary lengths. As Julius got older, he didn't just stop at those online searches. He was messaging anyone on Facebook who shared his relatives' names, hoping for a lead, any lead. He even started frequenting Korean stores, just hoping to connect with Korean speakers who might be able to help.
That's fascinating. It highlights how, even subconsciously, immigrants seek out those pieces of their culture, the familiar sights, sounds, even smells. It's like building a bridge back to the heritage that was disrupted.
And sometimes the most unexpected encounters can become those bridges, right?
It's like the universe has a way of stepping in sometimes, You think you're in control, meticulously searching, and then, bam, something totally random happens that changes everything.
You're telling me, okay, so picture this. A Korean man is installing a water system, right, at Julius's in-laws' house. And he notices Julius's daughter. He's struck by how Korean she looks. And of course, that sparks a conversation. And before you know it, Julius is sharing his whole story, his whole search. And guess what? This water installer,
Wow.
he just happens to be connected to the producers of a Korean TV show called Mother Spring Day, which, by the way, focuses on reuniting families.
Get out of town. Talk about serendipity. It makes you wonder about all those missed connections, those sliding door moments, If that water installer hadn't noticed, if Julius hadn't shared his story. It's a good reminder to be open to those unexpected encounters, those chance conversations, the ones that might seem insignificant at the time.
You just never know where they might lead. So these Mother Spring Day producers, they're completely captivated by Julius' story, right?
Yeah.
So they start featuring his mother's photo on their show every week, hoping someone somewhere will recognize her.
The power of media to connect people across continents, across cultures, it's really remarkable. It taps into our shared humanity, that desire for connection that transcends borders.
It truly does. And so months go by. Can you imagine the hope and the heartache week after week, and then breakthrough? A high school friend of Julius's mother, who's now living in Los Angeles, she sees the show and reaches out. It's like something out of a movie.
It's a global village, isn't it? But even with this incredible lead, I bet it wasn't all smooth sailing from there. Didn't Julius mention his mother had moved to the countryside? I have to wonder what happened in those missing years.
Exactly. And navigating that became another hurdle. Privacy laws made it really tough to track down someone who might not even want to be found. Plus, there was this lingering question of what his mother had gone through all those years ago. Remember how Julius said his mom had to move to the countryside after Something happened.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out she dedicated years to caring for her own mother, Julius's grandmother, who was battling Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, wow. That breaks my heart. It's also a reality for so many families, though, isn't it? The weight of societal expectations, particularly for women, can be immense. We often focus on the joy of reunions, but it's crucial to acknowledge the silent struggles of those who are left behind, The guilt, the longing, that complex web of emotions they must have navigated for years.
It adds a whole other layer of depth to Julius's story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And makes that reunion even more poignant because imagine this, okay? While his mother was caring for her mother, Julius's grandmother, she was also holding on to this pain, this longing for him. Even as her memory faded, Julius's grandmother would ask about him. Can you imagine carrying that weight?
Wow, it really reinforces what we were saying earlier about multiple narratives. Everyone carries their own burdens, their own versions of events. It's a reminder to approach these situations with empathy and understanding,
Yeah.
recognizing that there are often unseen struggles beneath the surface.
You're sure. So with all these layers, how does the reunion finally happen? Well, the Mother Spring Day researchers, they really stepped up. Using the high school friend's lead, they were actually able to track down Julius's mother through her church. They found a classmate who worked there, and that's how they got her address. I can't even imagine what must have been going through their minds knocking on that door after all those years.
The anticipation must have been unbearable. Did they finally get to speak to her? What happened next?
They did. And get this. The moment they showed Julius's mother his picture on camera, she recognized him instantly. She even called him by his Korean name, Oh Jun Young, like no time had passed at all. It's those little details that just get me,
It's a testament to the enduring power of a mother's love, wouldn't you say? That instinctual recognition, that bond that can withstand decades of separation. It gives me chills just thinking about it. So what was the actual reunion like? Tell me they got to meet in person.
Oh, they met in person for sure. Julius flew to Korea, and the footage of that reunion at the airport, man, it's one of those things that'll stay with you, Just imagine that mix of anxiety, excitement, maybe even a touch of disbelief, right? All swirling around after all these years. And then he sees her.
What was that moment like? Did he talk about it?
He did. And it's incredible. He said it was like being that 6-year-old boy again, just racing toward his mother at the airport. A moment that was stolen from him, finally reclaimed. He even said he felt like every stage of his life, the basketball player, the college student, all those years, it all just flashed before his eyes in those few seconds. And then the hug, the pure joy of connection, of finally closing that 31-year gap,
It gives me chills just thinking about it. It wasn't just about bridging a physical distance, was it? It was emotional, too. It's a powerful example of how we carry those childhood needs for connection with us. And sometimes we get a chance to actually rewrite those endings.
Makes you wonder about those what ifs, doesn't it? What if they hadn't found that water installer? What if that friend hadn't watched that show, It's amazing how these connections happen. Makes you think about all the other stories out there just waiting to be discovered. But getting back to Julius, he said his mother kept apologizing, but he reassured her. He told her that just knowing she was alive and well was enough, that he'd always prayed for her well-being, and that prayer had been answered.
That speaks volumes about the power of forgiveness, wouldn't you agree? It's never too late to rebuild those family bonds, to find some peace, some understanding. It might not be easy, there might be scars, but the human capacity for healing is just remarkable.
And for Julius, it was more than just forgiveness. He said the reunion helped him see that some of the things he'd been told about his mother, about their past, weren't totally true. It added another layer of complexity to their story. But ultimately, it reinforced the importance of hearing different perspectives, right?
Absolutely. Memories, they can be so subjective, colored by time and individual experiences. Julius's story reminds us that there are always multiple sides to every story. It's about having those difficult conversations, really listening with open hearts and minds, recognizing that sometimes understanding is way more valuable than judgment.
And isn't that a powerful message for all of us? But at its heart, this is a story about family, about the enduring power of family. Against all odds, Julius found his mother. And while they lost 31 years, they gained a future filled with possibilities. It's like one of those heartwarming movies, except this is real life, And it reminds us that even in the darkest of times, hope can endure and love can prevail.
Beautifully put. It's those stories of resilience and reconnection that remind us of the beauty of the human spirit. And you know what? They give me hope. They remind me that sometimes truth really is stranger and more beautiful than fiction.
I said it better myself. So as we wrap up this incredible deep dive, we want to leave you with a question to ponder. If you could ask Julius one thing about his reunion, about his relationship with his mother now, what would it be? Let us know.